Hey folks, how's it going? So, today I'm going to talk about the first guitar that I ever built. And we have to go back to the October of 2003. That's when I built my first guitar. So, I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. And so I wanted to build a guitar. I just bought an Ibanez GRX for like $159 at Music Emporium in Altoona, PA. So I got home and I was messing around with it, trying to learn how to play it, and decided, hey, it'd be neat to build one of these. So I called up my local not lumber yard, but I don't know what you'd call it. It's a guy that carries wood, kind of like a lumber yard. But anyways, I called him up and told him I needed a block of wood, basically 1 3/4 thick, about 14 inches wide and probably about 2 feet long. And he said, what kind of wood do you want? Well, not really knowing a whole lot about building guitars, I said a piece of oak. So a couple days later, I went down and picked up my piece of oak, brought it back and took my Ibanez guitar, laid it on it, and drew out the outline of my Ibanez, then took it over to the bandsaw and cut it out. This here is the first guitar body I ever built. Okay, now as you can see, I never used it. But this is the first one. This is a solid piece of oak, 1 3/4 thick. About, I don't know, it's probably about 12.5, 13 wide once it was cut down, and it's probably about 21 inches long, I'm guessing. This thing weighs 5 pounds and 8 ounces right now. So this was the first guitar body that I ever built. Now, I didn't know a whole lot about, I didn't know anything about guitar building at the time. So, somebody suggested that I go to the local bookstore in Bedford, Pennsylvania, and find out if they had any books on building guitars. So I went down there, and they had 2 books, but they had to order them in. One book was building a Spanish nylon string Spanish acoustic guitar, and then the other book that I ordered both books, was this book right here, Building an Electric Guitar by Martin, I think it's Cox is how you say that. So this is the book that pretty much introduced me into building electric guitars, and this book has everything in it. If you want to get into building guitars, this is the book to get right here. Now, back whenever I started building, we didn't have YouTube, and I didn't even have internet up when I lived in Pennsylvania. So I couldn't go on a YouTube channel or anything like that. So basically it was either get a book or do whatever. So I had my oak body, I had my book. Well, in this book there's a section on tone wood. And I don't know. Anyways, there's a section on tone wood in there. And I start reading through it, and it tells you what's the good body woods to use. And it had mahogany and alder. I think it had poplar and ash. So oak wasn't in there, so I went ahead and pretty much discarded this oak body and called up the same guy again and told him I wanted a block of maple. So basically the same size maple, 1 3/4 thick, 14 inches wide, 2 feet long, and I cut out. Now it was a different style guitar. Now there's pictures. I'm going to show you some pictures of it here in a minute. So I cut out a maple body with a maple bolt on neck, and some of the details of the guitar was it was a 25.5 inch scale. It had 2 humbuckers. It was kind of like a Gibson setup with the 4 tone knobs. It had a 3-way toggle, Had a tune-o-matic bridge. I went through strings. The cool thing about, well, not the cool thing, but the one thing about it was, at the time, either Stumac, I bought a lot of stuff off Stuart McDonald. They didn't either they didn't have them or they didn't make them at the time. But on your through strings, you got the front ferrules. They didn't have them, so I used the rear ferrules on the front and the back to do my through strings on it. I put a rosewood fretboard on it, 25-inch scale, but I got one that wasn't radiused at all because I had no way, or I didn't think I had a way of bending fret wire to match the radius. So I went a straight non-radius 25-inch scale rosewood fretboard and put the frets in flat, so there was no radius on it at all. I put a set of vintage style, they're called Golden Age pickups from Stuart McDonald's. I put them in it. The 2 volumes, 2 tones, the 3-way toggle. Put a set of cheap tuners on it, just whatever I could get my hands on. Nothing special about them. And that was basically the first guitar that I built. Now, it was pretty heavy. It probably weighed close to 10 pounds. But being a solid maple body, maple neck with a rosewood fretboard, it sounded pretty good. I wouldn't suggest using maple as a body, as a full body, maybe as a cap, but not as a full body. That's pretty heavy. And it would tend to be bright, but for whatever reason it wasn't. It didn't. I don't remember it being really bright. It sounded pretty decent, I thought. Yeah, so that's the first guitar that I ever built. Now there's pictures I'm going to be showing throughout this of the guitar, but the guitar itself, I don't have it anymore. Over the years, it got put somewhere and disappeared, and I don't know what happened to it. But I tried to find it, and it is gone. I don't have the neck. I don't have nothing. Now I put a 15-degree angle on the peg head, and did 3x3 tuners. Not the 6 in a line like Fender does. Put a bone nut on it. That's about it, I think. And then it had like 22 frets, I believe, and a dual action truss rod. And besides it being heavy, I mean, it was decent. I mean, there's a lot of stuff wrong with it that, you know, at the time I didn't know how to do fretwork, so there was no fretwork done. I didn't know the fretboard, was it completely level? I don't know. I didn't adjust the truss rod. I just put the strings on. I didn't know any of that stuff at the time. And one of the mistakes I ended up making was, it was a 25-inch scale, and whatever reason I screwed up and measured it out to 27 inches. I didn't realize this till later. I didn't know anything about intonation, so I didn't even try to intonate, because I didn't even know what intonation was at the time. I didn't know anything about really guitar building. It wasn't until later, years later, that I was trying to intonate the guitar, and I started measuring out and realized that, I don't know how I did it, but I put a 27-inch, I set the bridge at 27 inches and it's supposed to set at 25 inches. So it was 2 inches off, so it wouldn't have intonated anyways. But that is about it on the first guitar that I ever built, although this is the first body I ever built. And this one's still, you know, this has been around since 2003, so it's what, 11, 12 years? And held up pretty good, but I mean, it's starting to get cracks in it and stuff from being in the weather. Right there, there's a crack that runs about down to here on it. That's just from laying out in the cold and moisture getting in it and drying up and then getting wet and then drying up and getting cold in the winter. And so, but this would probably never make a guitar body anyways. This is too heavy. Now, one of the things I was going to do with this at one time was I was going to cut it down to, or plane it down to 1.5 inches, chamber the whole thing, cut the whole inside out except where the pickups go and the bridge goes, and then slap a maple cap on it to try to reduce the weight. And you'd probably cut about 2 pounds off of this, which would probably make it a 3.5 pound body, 3.5, 4 pounds, and then with all the other hardware it'd get back up to about 7 pounds total, which wouldn't be bad, but probably not your best choice. So anyways, that's my story on the first guitar that I ever built. And a lot of stuff went wrong. A lot of stuff went right though, for not knowing what I was doing. I mean, a lot of stuff did get right. But there was a lot of stuff that I messed up on that took years to, I just didn't know. So anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget about the giveaways when we hit the subscribers. That video's already out, so you can check that out. We're going to be giving away some strings and some other stuff. And rate, comment, like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel so you can win some cool stuff. And I'll see you guys in a later video. Thanks for watching.